2 weeks, I'll be coming back and giving a talk on being single and single for the Lord in community. And it might seem strange. You might say, why are we talking about marriage when there's single people, single for the Lord people, widows here? And why are we talking about being single when there's married people here? And the answer is because the topic is not marriage and being single. The topic is marriage and community and being single in community. It's the in community that means we need all of us to be participating in our vocations, our state of life. We need to know what the others are doing and why they're doing it so that we can love and honor and support them. And, we talked, the first talk was on families and community. And if you are married and have children, so you have a family, you know that you need people to be able to help you. In fact, if there's somebody who's real influential in helping your kids and stuff like that, and helping a married couple, what do you call them? Tio, Tia?
Tito, Tita.
Oh, Tito, Tia, Tito, yes. See? Is that kind of idea, but also spread spiritually, not just practically. Although, if you've got any kids, you know you really appreciate practical help too. So, today we're going to talk about marriage in community. When I took this course, when I heard this talk 40 years ago, they said marriage is under attack in society. Do you know what the attack was 40 years ago? The example they gave of why it's under attack and why we needed to learn how God views marriage? It was because there was a new thing at that point that was being introduced in the courts and in the government called no-fault divorce. Okay, that meant that if two people get married, if one of them didn't want to be married anymore, they no longer had to have a reason. They just went, filled out the papers, and the government gave them a divorce. Well, of course, that was a shocking example that society didn't understand that marriage is permanent. So the idea of permanence of marriage was under attack. Well, why are we still giving this talk? I mean, nobody even thinks of no-fault divorce anymore, right? Now, well, I'll give you 2 examples. Just last week, the President of the United States said he was no longer going to support, and his Attorney General would no longer support a law we have called the Defense of Marriage Law, which is a very simple law that says marriage is defined as between one man and one woman. So the government in the United States is no longer going to support that law. Or another one. Hold on just a minute. For those listening on the tape, I had to go pick up here a paper that I have. This is a Catholic newspaper, and it came yesterday while I was working on this talk. And right here in the headline it says, Bishop Cordelloni fights to save marriage. And it goes on with an interview, and the bishop, this Catholic bishop from California, said that marriage and understanding it is a key issue. He says reestablishing an understanding of what marriage is and what family is the defining issue of our day. He says the current belief is that marriage is a relationship between any adults for their mutual benefit and enjoyment. But the Christian belief is that marriage is for the creation and raising of children and the mutual good of man and woman, and those two ideas don't go together. You can't do it just for the personal satisfaction of any two adults and end up creating and raising children and having mutual support of two people. And they asked him, what do we need? And he said, a massive re-education beginning with the young people. So, it's It's a good thing we didn't drop this talk over the last 40 years. Because this is, according to him, exactly what we need today. And that it's a defining issue. So it's the thing that can help preserve society from going even farther off base. What is God's vision for Christian marriage? Christian marriage is something that he made for himself and for us. What is it for us? You remember the first talk we talked about? God said, the very first thing he said was, it's not good for man to be alone. So for the sake of an individual man, and for the sake of community, he made marriage. Because it's not good for man to be alone. Why is it something that God made for himself? Because what he wants is a people. And you can't have a people if you don't have marriages, that are Christian marriages, marriages that are doing it the way God wants. For one thing, you don't get people, or you don't get them the right way if you don't have marriage. So God wants, and if you do, you can, of course, find your own way to have children without marriage. That's what the world is trying very hard to do. But without that firm foundation of permanence and commitment to one another, and willing to serve one another, and being ordered in the right way, the kids are not raised to be a people of God. The kids are raised to be people who are looking for their own pleasure and their own satisfaction in life. So marriage, God made marriage for the sake of us and for the sake of him. Okay, so it's not really so surprising that the world misunderstands all these basic things, because it rejected God a long time ago, and it constantly re-rejects him and what he says. But even Christians have a very strange idea, a little distorted idea of what marriage is, because how do most Christians learn about marriage? Movies, television shows, talking to their friends, or maybe looking around at the people around them, which makes you wonder when 50% of the people around them are divorced and separated, and where the latest census said that 65% of all children in the United States belong in a single parent family. 65%. So if they look at what's around them, if they listen to what they're hearing at school, if they watch movies, if they watch television, if they're on the internet, they're not going to get God's vision of what marriage is. And here's just a couple of things that are very easy to pick up. Probably most Christians have this idea. One is what you might call the minimalist idea about marriage. The sort of like marriage is for one thing only. Like marriage is to satisfy sexual desire. Or marriage is so that I will have companionship. Somebody to talk to, somebody to take care of me. Or marriage is a social institution that will benefit society. Or marriage is for my personal fulfillment. So my spouse can stay home and take care of any kids, and I can progress in my career. Used to be that was the thing just the men would fall to, but now the women are falling to that ideal too. Now, my husband will stay home and take care of the kids, and I will become the vice president of the company. So these are going into marriage thinking it's going to do this one thing, so it's worth getting into marriage. Of course, as any of you know, after a little while, you get tired of trying to just think of that one thing, and so then you say, maybe this marriage isn't so good anymore. Maybe I picked the wrong spouse, I picked somebody else, or maybe I do better just being by myself. I seem to remember it was a lot of fun being single, going bar hopping every night. Shows how your memory can get corrupted after a time. Wasn't any fun. Or how about this? This is you get a lot from the movies and stuff, this romantic view of marriage. Marriage is total oneness with someone.